I wait and then it becomes
Here it
embarrassing.
is. We are live
There it
with
is.
Nan. Here we
Okay,
go.
I haven't
Mission
seen
control.
this before. Okay, got it. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, man.
I'm excited to be here again today. Today's topic is Mom. We'll do a character study on her. And I know you have some fun things to share about how you drew her and what was in your mind when you drew her. And it's fun for me to talk about her because I work with moms as an occupational therapist. I work with moms and of course dads too. But so I am hearing a lot from the families I work with about what's really hard about being a parent. And Joseph in the story is a child who needs a lot of strong parenting support. So that's what the main idea of what we'll talk about today. Before we start, I wanted to be sure to remind all the viewers and listeners that we will be having a special event on November 17th, and that's going to be a chance for people who are interested in joining us to ask questions of Joe and me. So we'll go over the last character, the main character of the story, Joseph, on that day. And then we'll have it open. We'll tell a little bit about ourselves and how we began working together and how we started in our careers as author and illustrator, and open it up for questions for the audience. So I'm ready to get started. Joe, was there something you wanted to share first?
I just sent you a drawing that if you want to bring that up, it's in your, I texted it to you.
Okay.
And I can share a little bit about Mom, but I'll let you bring that up if you can.
Yeah. Here it is.
I just remembered a little tidbit again.
Okay. All right. I remember this clearly.
Oh, okay. So this was the first drawing I did based on Nan and I's conversations with Mom. And I wanted her to be a kind of a strong female character that's looking out after Joseph and has his best interest. And Gretchen was a little bit more based off of some pictures that Nan had of Gretchen. And so it was like a first, like rough, not rough pass, but it was like, this was a kind of a finish. Like, this is what I want the characters to look like. And with Mom, I remember now that I was basing her character off of the female characters from Lost in Space, mostly the mom. And now I'm really dating myself because it's like it was a late 60s, sci-fi show. And so I wanted it to have kind of a Lost in Space feel to it, where they all had the same uniforms. And so Mom is here kind of like a Fantastic Four type of outfit. And I was just trying different things. And a lot of Mom's look and hairstyle, I kind of base off of my wife. My wife is a hairdresser, and so she's always changing her hair and all that. And so I have some other drawing books that I have, and I was kind of like, I wanted a kind of a not an oldish looking mom, but I wanted like kind of a young mom hairdo. And so a lot of the character and the way her look and feel and everything was kind of, a lot of it was kind of based starting with her hairstyle. And so Joseph we'll talk about more about Joseph on the 17th, but as far as Mom is concerned, that's kind of like where I got the idea of like her look and everything. So.
And I remember I had this picture posted in my office, my clinic, and you also had the maroon color, and the kids who were coming for therapy would vote on which color they liked better.
That's right. That's right.
But then it all changed, as we'll see once we start the story.
Yeah, I got way more cartoony, especially with Gretchen.
Yeah. So it's fun to see the trend, how it evolved. So you can see this story now, right?
Yes.
I've switched over to the book. So this is the cover. So you can see, we don't see Mom here yet, but we can see what Joe just said about Gretchen being more cartoonish. So
Yeah, I still see the drawing up. Are you still sharing that?
that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, you're still sharing
Yeah.
that.
See if I can change it out.
Yeah, it looks like you're still sharing. There you go.
Yeah. So
Back to us again.
yeah. Thanks for letting me know. So here's the book cover. So now you can see the change in Gretchen. So mom's not here yet, but we'll see her in a minute. So as we've done other weeks, sort of tell the story as we go along, but the focus is on one character at a time. And the other characters, of course, you'll see, but I'm going to focus, Joe and I will focus today on Mom. So Spaceman Sam is a character we've covered last week, and he's the TV star that Joseph loves. And Spaceman Sam, the superhero, teaches kids a lot of things about emotional regulation. So he teaches kids to notice in their body what they're feeling. Sometimes it does actually need a parent, a mom in this story, to help him understand a little bit more about what's going on inside of his body. And then Spaceman Sam teaches kids to let someone know they can help you. And then the adult can help you calm and be able to actually solve the problem. This also, in the story, Joseph's mom helps him go through these 4 steps, but also Joseph's mom is the same as Gretchen. When he goes into his imagination, Joseph's mom actually Gretchen plays the role of mom. So you'll see as we go through that mom has a really important role in here in supporting Joseph and being able to solve the problem. So this is his home. Joseph is watching TV with Gretchen, their favorite thing to do. And he says, Spaceman Sam's the best, right, Gretchen? You can see that he loves pretending to be Spaceman Sam. And he's got these 4 steps in his mind as he's pretending. And even though those are in his mind and he was just watching Spaceman Sam and he knows what is expected, it's still really hard in the moment to manage those big feelings when something to him unexpected or something hard or something that feels like too much for him to actually use what he knows in that moment. So when his mom tells him it's time to go to bed, doing something he definitely doesn't want to do, and stop watching TV, again, something he definitely doesn't want to do, then this is the reaction we get. So a lot of kids can relate to this and they can say, yeah, I look like that sometimes, or like that, or sometimes they're more specific about what it really looks like. So they can relate to the picture. And then this is the most important part on the page, really, because Joseph's mom, her reaction, her initial reaction, her ability to stop and pause and think through what her response is going to be makes all the difference in helping Joseph be able to move from this state that he's in right here to a calmer state where he can move through those steps that Spaceman Sam talks about, where she's going to react here. He's letting her know that he's really upset. She's going to help him calm through the things that she knows how to do. And that's a lot of what we'll talk about today, because it is really, really critical that parents are able to share their calm. So in order for parents to be able to do that, it's not any easier really for parents to do this than it is for him to move from this state, because parents probably tell me they often feel this way inside anyway. And so they're having to regulate first in order to be able to share their emotional calm with their child. So this means that the parents have to be patient, they have to show empathy, they have to understand how hard it is for Joseph to switch gears, to transition to something that's not a preferred activity. The parent has to be emotionally available to him, which is a big thing that we'll talk about in the story too, because he does need her to be present for him, to be able to put aside her, to be prepared for helping him with those big feelings. So one of the things that's important is for parents, in order to be able to be in this state where I can share my calm, I can remember about that, I can do this, is to take care of themselves. So moms or dads. So I'm using mom today just to mean all parents. But in the story, it is mom. And so it's so hard for parents to find the time to get the sleep that they need. Their child often is coming into bed with them, so that makes it hard for them to get uninterrupted good sleep. It's nutrition can sometimes be a hurried meal out the door for breakfast, or putting something on the table for dinner because you're running late. Those kinds of things can be really difficult, but yeah, so important. Getting a child to eat the protein for breakfast and for snack at school, those kinds of things, but also for the parents to have the time to add that into their schedule. And then, of course, exercise, and all the things that I'm listing here are also things that are equally important for Joseph. But it starts again first with mom being able to have these needs met that she has in order to help Joseph meet his needs. Mom needs some free time to herself. That's often a scarcity also. And time also to just have some calm, to meditate or pray or whatever it is that helps adults be able to face the day in a way that is feeling in control, and that feels like I can go through the day and not feel hurried and rushed and stressed. And then, of course, sort of not in the immediate thoughts generally, but when there's even thought given to financial issues, making sure that you're feeling that you can, you have a plan in that regard too. So all of these are kind of having plans that help the parents be more able to respond to their child in a way that's supportive and helpful. And then, of course, parents need time to have social interactions with their own support system and their own family and friends. And then, if it's helpful for parents to have time for counseling and time for, even if it's their own time for affirmations, or what do they do to take care of themselves. And then also even having their environment where they're living and working be pleasing, so it doesn't feel like you're shuffling through papers looking for things, or that you know where things are easily, so that it's not taking up a lot of time for you, but also just that it's pleasant. It's a space you want to be in. And all those things really add up at the end of the day to either make it easier for you, if these things have been, if you've been able to put these things into play to some degree, the best that you can, or and it makes it easier for her to share her calm. And when these things are not in place, if parents just pay attention, like, why is it harder for me to share my calm today? It might be because some of these elements are missing from that day or the day before or for the past week or something like that. Because certainly life is unpredictable and things don't go the way we expect all the time. But to the degree that we can think about these things and incorporate them as much as possible, in my experience, and from what I hear from other families, it makes a difference. So let's move on. So assuming that his mom has been able to take care of her own needs, met her own needs, and is feeling that she can be there for him, she's got his back, then she can help him move from this red zone to a calm zone. So I purposely wrote these words as a way to model for parents what can be helpful to de-escalate the situation for a child who's moving from this very upset state, or even if it's not that upset, still an upset state. the most important part is the parents are really meeting the child where the child is emotionally and not trying to jump the gun and say, well, here's how you solve the problem. I'll take care of it. I know what to do. So a child who might be struggling to get their shoes on, and if a parent feels that rushed to get the shoes on and out the door, then that's the parent taking over. If the parent can give the child time to sort through and figure it out and even have big feelings about it too, but learn in the process, then she's allowing the child to grow. And that's a lot of what the story is the parents not taking over for Joseph, but to support him so he can solve his own problems and take his time to do that. So she's just giving him time. She's reading his body language. You can see how Joe has changed his posture, and so she can see, and as he changes and she changes in response, she's working to get him to that final step there so that she feels like now he's actually able to listen and think and move beyond the emotional state and into a thinking state where he can start deciding how does he want to solve the problem, not how is she going to solve the problem. So that's what's happening here. So she's suggesting Spaceman Sam's last step, like, what will you do to solve this problem? And so that's where he goes into his imagination. And this is where then Gretchen takes on the role of mom as the one who's going to help him in his own imagination solve the problem. So Joseph has on his screen here, on his monitor, mom, and he knows, we added her in, and it shows the importance that he places on his mom, that he wants to take her with him on his journey into space. He knows that she's going to be his support system. It's just that it gets played out as Gretchen being the mom in the story. So these are the other characters in the story. This is him on his spaceship in his imagination. And he's going to figure out, with the help of Gretchen, otherwise known as his mom, how to do the hard thing of turning off the TV, even though he really doesn't want to, and do what he knows his mom is expecting him to do. So we talked in past weeks about Robojo, and we talked in past weeks about the hypnozoids. But Joseph takes over as Robojo because Joe's drawn this haptic suit on Joseph to show, now I'm becoming a new character in my imagination. I'm going to be Robojo, and everything that Robojo does and feels, Joseph does and feels, because that's what the haptic suit does. So here he comes in his imagination to come fight this inner desire to do what he wants to do, which is represented by the hypnozoids. And he knows he really is supposed to go to bed, but it's really, really hard for him. And so he has to come to some kind of terms in his own mind of how to go about doing that. But he really can't do it all by himself. So he needs help. And that's what happens, is that the hypnozoids completely take control, which is what we saw with him having his big upset on a few pages back, where I'm completely out of control. I don't know what to do. And this is represented here in the imagination story. I'm completely out of control. I'm held captive to my big feelings, and I can't do anything by myself at this point. And what's happened is that the hypnotron that the hypnozoids control has taken over, and he really has no thinking. He's offline there, and it's all about big feelings. And you can see that Gretchen, like his mom, is still in control, and she's going to help him because the hypnotron cannot wrap her up in the hypno cables because she's staying in control. She's calm. She has tools. She knows what to do. So you see that the characters fall over because that's just showing that it's harder and harder because the hypnozoids have so much control. And here comes the hypnotron that's going to hypnotize Robojo. And Gretchen now realizes, oh man, if it's, I see that I really need to help Joseph. He's stuck. He doesn't know what to do. It's up to me to help him be able to move beyond the state that he's in right now, because he really doesn't know what to do. He needs me to help him. So I'll give him some tools. So on his gauntlet of his costume, of his spacesuit, he's got these options here of things that he could do. So we'll talk more about this also another time, but when we talk about Joseph, but it is a toolkit on his spacesuit that helps him know what to do. Tools that he and his mom have selected that feel like things that would help him calm when he's feeling upset. So Gretchen is accessing this tool for him and suggesting that he try different things, but Joseph settles on, okay, I'll try to breathe. A lot of times kids actually can't do the breathing in the moment, and it's actually sometimes a trigger for kids when the moms say, just breathe. And so sometimes even just the parent breathing can help the child. So Joseph is able to little breathing, he realizes, oh, my head was feeling funny, but taking some deep breaths is helping me feel better. I actually can start to think a little bit because you've helped me be able to move into that place where I have a little bit of thinking ability now, but I still need you, Gretchen. I'm not there yet. And so she tells Gretchen, yeah, like, go help me. And so Gretchen flies out and she sees the big problem. And she knows exactly what to do. So this is what parents can do. It's representative of what parents can do when their child is struggling. The parents can set the child up for support. So provide the accommodations, provide additional support, lower the demand. Those are some things that can make a real big difference in a child being able to say, I can do that, because it doesn't feel like too much. It doesn't feel as hard anymore. So that's what Gretchen's going to do. She knows that Joseph needs a little oomph to be able to get over the hurdle. And so she's going to go to Robojo's willpower button, which is here, and she's going to turn it on. And again, this is what parents can do to help support their child. Can you reduce the busyness in the room so it's just you and the child there to help calm? That's a similar kind of thing that would be what Gretchen's trying to do here. Let me pull down the shield so you're not being distracted anymore by the hypnotron, because that's too hard to resist. So pull down the shield, put up the laser, which is able to break the hypno cables here. And so now Joseph has some freedom. And that's what parents are trying to do with the support of lowering the demand, increasing the support, so that the child feels like, I'm not feeling so captive now. I feel like I'm not stuck. I feel like I could actually move forward now, but only because Mom or Gretchen has helped me be able to do that, help me move through the steps of my big feelings, the support that I'm getting, and being able to calm enough to think about how to solve the problem. So Joseph's got it handled now. He is able to take control of his big feelings by using willpower. And most kids don't know what willpower means. They're not familiar with that word, but what most kids can relate to is just do it. And in the end, kids tell me when I say, how did you make that happen? They say, I just did it. But what I also know is that if they can't just do it in the moment when they're feeling emotional, but when they've had the support during those moments that can be stretched out a long time, they can calm and then get to the place where they can just do it because they know that's what's expected. So that's what Rabojo, otherwise known as Joseph, is feeling like, okay, I conquered my big feelings. I did overcome that. I needed the help of Gretchen to do that. But in the end, look, I did it. And so he's back as Joseph in his spaceship, and Rabojo and Gretchen are saying goodbye, celebrating with a thumbs up. And Gretchen comes back in. She's done the support she needs to, and now they can connect and he can feel really proud of himself and recognize that we did it. He knows that he needs his mom to help him. And she knows that that's the critical piece that will help him be able to not only do what's expected, but actually learn from it. And that's what happens next. The mom goes through the steps that Spaceman Sam talks about and helps him review what just happened in the context of the 4 steps that Spaceman Sam talks about. First, you felt it, the big feelings, we shared it. Gretchen and I helped you with this so you could come and figure out on your own how to solve it. And again, this is the part that matters. Like, his brain will grow if his mom allows him the opportunity to work it out on his own, because almost all kids can solve their own problem or agree to a problem when they've been set up for success and when they're in a state where they can actually do this and there's not an interference of the big feelings that make it impossible for children to solve problems. And the reason I say that it's best for kids to actually solve the problems is because if I offer a suggestion to kids, or the parents do, the kids often say no to those ideas. But they come up with their own ideas, which I would never think of. On occasion, there are kids who really do need ideas. They want to solve it, but they don't really know how. They don't have enough experience. And then they usually will accept one of the ideas and then do it. But the growing comes from the child solving the problem and the parent supporting through all the steps. And this is what happens when a child feels like, I did it. And that's the imagination. I did it on my spaceship in my imagination, and now I'm doing it in real life. And so his mom talks him through. And again, this is a critical part for him to understand and learn from the situation. And so she's walking him through the steps here and helping him remember that at the beginning, it was really hard and you were really, really mad. And I just stayed by your side, which is not unlike, again, when he was really upset on the spaceship, Gretchen stayed by his side and helped him move from this stage, the upset stage, to the, okay, I can do something now. I can figure out what to do. And he's feeling, he can remember, like, I did it. I liked how that felt. And that's the goal, is for kids to be able to say, I can solve the challenges that I have. I do need support, but the support will help me so that I can ultimately be able to do these kinds of challenges on my own through practice and repetition. But of course, challenges just continue to be new and different and more advanced. So moms and dads or other grown-ups still need to be there to help children through those difficulties. And that's what she's helping him learn. Like, your brain grew from that hard work. And he's feeling very proud of himself. And in the end, he gets to go to bed feeling very content about, even though it was difficult for him, feeling like, I was able to overcome those big feelings. And my mom helped me reframe everything that happened in a way that was positive free of shame, free of the negative tendencies that children can have for feeling uncomfortable about what they did and assigning negative characteristics to themselves because of something like that. But his mom has helped him not be able to understand that actually it was just a growing opportunity for you. And now you'll be able to do it a little bit differently tomorrow. And because you've practiced. And then he's able to handle this being on his own in his sleep, feel proud. He maybe is reenacting the scene with his props there and feeling good about himself. And he has a poster there that reminds him, tomorrow I will be a day older, tomorrow I will be more practiced, and tomorrow doing hard things will be a little easier. So Joe, I know, had some more that he wanted to tell about Mom. You had a story.
I think I already kind of said it at the beginning.
Okay. I thought you had a second story. So
No, I'm trying to think, but no, I think that was it. That was pretty much it. Yeah.
So we talked a little bit last time about the colors that you chose for Joseph's clothing, and it makes it easy for me. Like one time, Joe and I went to a book fair and I dressed up as Mom. So it was really easy for me to dress up like Mom. And so the colors, and I just happen to have those things in my closet, shoes like that and pants that color and a shirt that color. So it worked out. But I think that the expressions on Mom's face, maybe you could talk about that a little bit, Joe. Like, how is that the encouragement? Because what I noticed, like, all that time that we had to wear masks, I felt the whole time that it was definitely harder for kids to read my body language. Mm-hmm. And they really do look to me to see what's my reaction. So they make mistakes all the time in therapy with me, and they look to me like, oh, am I in trouble? Which is the usual reaction. And if they see, because I'm not wearing a mask, then I'm smiling at them and letting them know, I see that was hard for you. I'll help you. Then it relieves the anxiety, and they're available then to do what I'm asking to do. And I provide that support just like Gretchen did by going out and setting them up with a little bit of willpower boost. And that's what I'm doing too. Like, I know you can do that. I can do it with words. I can do it with my body language. And so I think that her body language is important in this story. And I think that Joseph, by reading that, especially here, like, this is classic. I've copied this page many times for parents to take home as a reminder, as a tool, like, try to approximate this language when you can with your child to help de-escalate things. So there's a lot of body language here, but also facial expression that is helpful for kids to pick up on. And I think they do pick up on a lot more body language than I think a lot of people give them credit for.
Yeah. I think with my experience, being in the animation industry and seeing how the artists were able to get the gestures and the look on their faces and body poses. I always wanted to make sure I had a strong silhouette. That was one thing. I didn't want it to be muddied. So I wanted to show expression in the way she's posed. And that was number one. And then number two, as far as the poses that Mom has with Joseph, just from my experience, like you had mentioned about the masks and what the kids are looking at, trying to see your faces. With my experience as a teacher, and especially teaching TK, kindergarten, first grade, I always wanted to make sure that they understood me, and I didn't want to have this power pose over them, like, me looking down at them. I wanted them to know that I'm here to encourage you. I'm teaching you something, and I wanted to be on their level. I don't know how many times like I would do these poses myself, and in teaching them how to use iPads and how to use their computers. And I would just get to their level and get like eye to eye, and just so they knew exactly, like, I'm not here to, make you feel bad about not knowing how to do something. I'm here to teach you so you feel comfortable. You have ownership of what I'm teaching you, and that's going to give you a feeling of empowerment, and your confidence is going to be boosted. And so that's mom's role here in all of her poses, is like she's there not as she is authority, and she has power, but she also has empathy, and she's also a teacher. She's being a role model, and she has lots of things to share. And that's a lot of where I'm pulling these ideas for, like, how mom and Joseph interact with each other on the page.
That's so great. I love that perspective, Joe. And the other thing that I was thinking about in this picture that I forgot to mention earlier is I think that there are two questions that I think can help parents when they're in this moment, that to ask themselves, that help drive the next steps in the direction that you as a parent actually want. Every parent wants the same thing, for their child to be emotionally regulated and many, many more things. But parents are after this, basically all the same values of, honesty and being able to be responsible and accountable and all those things. And it's in the fast-paced world we live in, it's really easy to just do it for the child, and the child not learn how to learn those skills themselves. So, but if a parent can think of, there's at least two questions that I could think of that in the moment, if it can be in parents' minds when they're in this situation, one of them is, if I want to solve this problem calmly, how can I respond so it helps his brain grow? That's a whole lot about what the story is. And the other question is, if I want to teach family values, what opportunities can I find in my day that will foster those kinds of value building experiences for my child? And how can I support my child to get there, and not just in the moment, but as a lifetime skill? So a lot of times it's easy to just try to get through the moment and be done, but it's step-by-step building for the skills that a child needs for a lifetime. So that was all I had to share. Joe, did you want to share anything more?
No, I think you covered everything as far as mom's related. Yeah. I mean, I'll talk more about when we get to Joseph, I'll talk more about color and how important it was in making the book as well.
Great. Thank you, Joe. So we have 2 more weeks. Next week, we'll talk about Gretchen, which is so fun. Gretchen is my niece's dog who lives in Alaska. And I've known Gretchen all her life, well, most of her life, and she has a really big personality. And so Joe really was able to capture that. So when I read the story, I just have such fun thoughts of Gretchen and my time with her, and how fun it is. So her personality definitely comes through in Joe's description. He hasn't even met her in the way he portrays her. And then the last week, we'll skip a little bit of time. And the last week will be November 17th, as I said at the beginning. And that's when we'll talk about Joseph, saving the main character for last. And there'll be also that opportunity to ask questions of Joe and me. So I will look forward to seeing you again next week and going through our next character. Thank you.
That's good. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.